I've said this on several different occasions when people ask me about feminism. I don't think there are waves of feminism. I think there's only one.
I agree
feminism.
With that. Yeah, this whole fourth wave shit is bullshit.
Well, they want to say, well, the suffragettes were good. No, the suffragettes were treated as terrorists in the UK and the United States. They planned bombings. They planned political assassinations. They bombed police precincts. They're very, very racist in the very beginning of it. They didn't want black women to have any votes. They just wanted white women to have votes, right? And so there's a lot that was going on in that 70-year period between like Seneca Falls and ratifying the 19th Amendment, right? So then women get votes. Now what? Well, that's not enough. Now we've got to have something. Now we've got to keep going from that point where, and really, there's never been any waves of feminism. It's just the same thing, but it's been broken up by 2 world wars, Vietnam, Korea, civil unrest, the Bolsheviks, whatever, wherever you are, happen to be in the world, whatever sort of civil unrest that interrupted that particular stream of feminism right up until 1965. And 1965 is when we had the pill. And that one piece of technology was the catalyst, I think, for what we know of as sort of like, I call it militant feminism, but like modern day feminism right now is the result. So
you wouldn't make a delineation from pre-pill to after pill? Do you make any type
of... the reason I wouldn't make it pre-pill, I would say the sexual revolution, which came in the wake of hormonal birth control. Okay. Because what happens is, and I've done this, I'm actually considering writing a small book about this, which is the decade between 1965 and 1975. And if you look at all the things where it comes like with the decline of marriage, right now we are at the lowest marriage rate in recorded history in the United States. We're at 6.1 per 1,000 people right now. And that goes all the way back to like mid 1800s when
that's
they started
as of 2024 or 2023.
2024. Yeah. Okay. And so when they're tracking it, this is the lowest it's ever been. If you look at 1965 to where we are right now, the baby boom generation, where the marriages went up, and then 65 came, and then they drop off a cliff, and at the same time, divorces go up at one point, right when hormonal birth control is introduced in a popularized sense in Western culture, right? Then you've got the sexual revolution, then you got Woodstock, then you got the boomers, then you've got no-fault divorce to facilitate all of the new divorces that are coming as a result of the pill.
Let me ask you a question. Well, finish your thought before I ask you this question.
Well, but to look at all the other things that happened since then, you've got like then Roe v. Wade, 1972, 73, somewhere in there. Yeah. We go off the gold standard in 1971. So now women are coming into the workforce, and we don't have to worry about giving women credit cards or bank accounts anymore because we're on a fiat currency. And here you go, ladies, have all the credit you want. Right? Yeah. Then we've got, like I said, we've got Roe v. Wade. So now we have like fast, safe, elective abortions. Then you got Title IX, get more women into college, more women come into the workplace because they're divorcing their husbands and they're single. And so now they've got to make money. And if you also look at like the GDP at that time, you will see wage earnings flatline, but productivity goes through the roof because you have so many women that are now coming into the workplace, but they're not making any more money than the guys are. Productivity goes up, mean wages stay the same. We just keep going all the way from 19.
I'm surprised they even stay the same. If anything, I would think it would.
They go up a little bit, like with inflation.
I thought it would go down
and everything. But like if you compared to productivity goes up to the roof, and mean wages stay the same. And then you just go through. I think the golden era for feminism was really about the mid 90s. Because we didn't have the internet, we didn't have communication, we didn't have the kind of mass communication that we have right now. Yeah. And right around 2000 to the mid 2000s, what happens when we have mass communication worldwide? Now we have this we're globalizing that much more, and it's not just the economy that globalizes; it's the sexual marketplace that globalizes right around right through 2000 through 2010. That's where you see the rise of the seduction community. That's when it's no coincidence that the pickup artists in the forum eras, when we're on So Suave or Alt Fast Seduction or the Venusian Arts, that's when all of that stuff came up. The Game, the book with Neil Strauss and Mystery Method, that comes out at 2005, right in between all of that. And the reason for that is because now we can compare notes, and now we have a new technology that allows men to sort of get together and collectively talk about this stuff. You want to know where the rational male came from? It came from about 10 or 12 years of me being on the So Suave forums and having all of these conversations with these guys, and then collecting all of that, putting it into cohesive blog posts and essays and stuff. I'm essentially an essayist. And then those found their ways into the chapters of the book, right? And so now we go through the teens, and now we're in the 2020s right now. But if you look at the progression from where feminism sort of peaked, I think you'll see it's in like nobody knows. It's at its peak because it can enjoy the ignorance of most people because nobody's comparing notes, nobody's talking about it. In fact, it's really kind of like improper and inappropriate to talk about female nature. We plotted the human genome.
Even today,
all this technology that's happened.
Let me ask you this question. I didn't want to interrupt you. So you mentioned pre-1965 and after 1965. Would it be fair to say that pre-pill, women were more concerned with civil rights, equality in the workforce, being taken seriously in general, right? And then after 1965, it was more about sexual autonomy?
Yeah, for sure. But and because of one invention.
Yeah.
You got to remember just the impact of a chemical device, because I think it's James Sexton calls it a technology, and it is. It's a chemical technology that allows a woman to have sex without having to worry about, relatively speaking, we're worried about pregnancy.
Yeah.
And if you look at all of the social changes that cascaded down from one invention, and you look at how men, like now suddenly during the 70s, it's you don't want to be a macho man anymore. And that's like, you want to get in touch with your feminine side, and all this Jungian psychology comes to animus becomes a big deal. And all of this emotionalism, like the emotionalism that I talk about all the time, because I always talk about the difference between like empiricism and emotionalism. That emotionalism started right after the sexual revolution, because guys wanted to get in touch with their feelings. And they wanted to identify with women.
They wanted to get laid.
They wanted to be on team woman because exactly, it's sneaky fucker game. They wanted to be and identify more like women, so that they could get in there and like, oh, you're not like other guys. Those other guys are, patriarchal bastards. You're not like that at all. You're a modern guy. What's a modern guy? A metrosexual, right? What's a modern guy? It's a guy who's in touch with his feelings, right? And we still have that legacy today. When I go and I look at like Justin Baldini's site and the rest of these guys they're redirecting my traffic and your traffic too right now. It's like man bun, masculinity sites. And
really?
It's the same shit that seriously, you can track the same words that they're talking about in 2024 all the way back to the mid 70s, with guys trying to sort of go to their drum circles and burn patchouli oil and shit like that, and just like get in touch with their feminine side. And a lot of that emotionalism is a direct result of the fact that these guys, men knew too, like the boomer generation. We keep going back to the Woodstocks and all that other shit. The boomer generation of men, they were on board. Fuck yeah, a pill that you can hate. No one's been able to do that in the history of humanity. To be able to fuck and not have to worry about getting pregnant. So that's like
crazy.
That's
it's like eating candy and not getting fat.
And that's like post-sexual revolution. Now, prior to that, my mother-in-law is a pre-sexual revolution generation, right? And she used to tell me this is like when the first like fertility clinics came out, sperm banks, people were losing their minds over it because they said that women will go and electively do this so that they can have babies without a father, right? And that was a scandal prior to the sexual revolution, because if you had a child out of wedlock before 1965 in the 50s, early 60s,
extremely frowned
upon.
Have,
and it doesn't matter what religion you are, it was just a social stigma. Was to like, if you had like a daughter that got pregnant in high school at 16 or 17, she told me this, they would have to put that girl away. That's what they say, put her away, which meant she would either have to go have the baby and put it up for adoption, or the baby would be had and then it would be parented by the grandparents, because the parents it was brought shame on the family as a result of that. So when we go back to the
I don't think Americans understand that this was a very shunned upon thing.
Dude,
Ted Bundy's, I think it's Ted Bundy's mom, if I'm not mistaken, she had him, father wasn't there, out of wedlock. And they had to live in they had these like homes for like single moms.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but it's like they're defunct now. They don't exist.
The stigma for being a single mother prior to the sexual revolution was scandalous. Afterwards, in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, you're a fucking superhero.
You want to hear something interesting I heard this week?
You're doing it all. I never needed a dad. You can do both of them just fine.
Interesting story. During the civil rights era, there was a woman that did exactly what Rosa Parks did. Didn't want to give up her seat, etc. She was a single mom though. So they didn't want to push that. They didn't want to use her.
They bring it up.
They didn't want to use her as the so they let her ride. Hey, we're not going to prop up your story about you not wanting to get up. They waited till Rosa Parks did it because Rosa Parks wasn't a single mom.
Yeah. So
That's how powerful it was
stigma,
back then. Nowadays, women are fucking proud to be a single mom, but like,
and electively do so.
Yeah.
Like now,
oh yeah.
I'll tell you what's funny is I've been reading these stories about these guys. I think
they brag about it.
They're in like Denmark or in like Amsterdam or something like that. There's like they're like sort of like black market sperm donors right now, and it's a real problem because these guys are like sought out like this. Like they'll have, there's guys on this sort of these I want to, maybe they're dark websites or web 2.0 sites, but these guys basically will give you a donation of sperm, and there's like certain individuals that are so popular that they keep getting chosen over and over and over again. And the problem with that is like the guy is like siring like dozens and dozens of kids with random women, and that can be a problem if those kids end up meeting each other and like getting together in the future kind of thing. So it's this inbreeding that goes along with that. And so like that is a modern day contemporary problem that we have right now as a result of one invention that was amplified by technology later on.
And you talk about that too, how these guys in 1965 with this birth control, right? Like the women's rights movement was more about like civil liberties, voting, all sorts of stuff. Then after 1965, it's sexual autonomy. And I think you've talked about this before. Like the guys like thought like, yes, we're all gonna get laid. This is gonna be awesome.
They didn't realize they were just basically selling themselves out. They didn't know. They didn't. Fuck, if I can get laid and I don't have to worry about pregnancy.
Hypergamy reared its ugly head, and they're like, oh, well, now effectively 80-90% of you guys are fucking sexed out.
Yeah.
And
I think what happens is like when people talk about, I hear tradcons talk about this all the time. They go, well, it's the guy's fault because they couldn't keep their dicks in their pants. It's like, it's a new technology. They don't know what's going to happen. They only see in what the proximate outcome is, which is I can get laid and I don't have to worry about a baby. Fuck yeah. Get some water? Yeah.
Caffeine? Yeah.
Yeah. So when I make the distinction between pre-sexual revolution and post-sexual revolution, I don't think it's so much about like the sexual permissiveness as it is the fact that you have to look at the root technologies that allowed for that mentality to exist in the first place. So when people want to blame like baby boomer men for not being able to keep their dicks in their pants, it's like you would have done the same thing because it's like it's brand new. It's something that you've like never had in the history of mankind.
If like a technology came out today, right? And they're
and there will be something.
Oh yeah. You can eat as many calories as you want, you won't get fat. Dude, people are gonna be fucking eating themselves into fucking death with candy and all this other stuff. But what's gonna happen? They're gonna get sick, they're gonna feel like crap, their teeth are gonna rot. Like there's always like negative consequences to something that you think.
We never look at it in terms of those. We don't look in the long term. There's a really great line in Jurassic Park where they say you're so preoccupied with can we do this rather than should we do this? Because we don't know. We don't know what the long-term implications are for humanity. We just thought it was great. Oh, well, women have the right to choose, right? Women, if you think about, like, if you look at abortion right now, abortion is basically a fail-safe for bad reproductive choices. Those bad reproductive choices as caused by a technology that allows you to have sex
can you get that video ready?
Pregnancy.
Actually, we're on this topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, keep coming around.
The Twitter one, Keep going, Rolo.
Are you out? I don't. Oh, do I have the keys? Yeah, I do have the key. You want the fob? Yeah, I got the fob.
Oh, thank you, bro. Yeah, you just get some caffeine. You want anything? This is my third stream. I'm dying.
No, I'm fine.
And I don't need guys. Just so you guys know, look. You guys better work fucking hard, man. I went to the gym this morning, like 3 hours of sleep. Did a stream with the Hot Stones. I'm here with Rolo. We're still going hard to pay. I'm getting some goddamn caffeine because I'm tired. But we're gonna keep going.
Dude, that's my diet plan, by the way. Caffeine and stress. That's how I stay svelte. That's how I stay this good looking.
So okay, so sorry. You were talking about
say that I think that as far as sexual permissiveness is concerned, I think it's just the natural outcome of a technology that humanity wasn't ready for. It's what's called I think it's called.
You think humanity wasn't ready for it?
No, of course not. Not to the sense where like we would see, like we didn't want to look down the road and what would be the possible implications of social implications.
You know what's scary? It's 2024 and we've had what 60 plus years of birth control and we still haven't fine-tuned it. Like it still has massively bad side effects for a lot of women. It still causes a lot of issues. It's still incredibly unhealthy. So it's like, I can't even imagine what birth control was like back in 1965. It was probably it was way more primitive, probably sucky side effects, etc. But Yeah, we always look at it like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, you know, and made a great quote, like, hey, could we do this? But should we do this?
Should we actually do this?
And the reality is like the same thing. Like if we came out with a pill where you don't gain weight, but you can eat whatever you want. Well, there's always going to be side consequences to that. For example, you can now eat as much candy as you want. Your teeth are going to rot. You're probably going to get some diabetes. You're probably going to still feel like crap because when you eat a lot of candy, you know, you get that really sick, nauseous feeling. So there's always something that comes in.
And there's downstream effects that you're going to have to worry about. And
always side effects.
In my fourth book, The Rational Male Religion, in the introduction, I was actually, I think it was the first introduction, the first the first section of it. I mentioned this. I say, look, every so often in human history, there comes a technology that we're completely unprepared for, like nuclear weapons. Like when we drop the bombs on Hiroshima and everything, we can do this. Should we do this? Yeah, is the next
good point.
And you know, there's ethical implications, but not even so much that one technology fundamentally changed geopolitics forever. Okay? Yeah. And it's what I call, like, every now and then, it's like, remember in the Bible how it's like, you know, there's the tree of knowledge and Eve eats the apple from the, I look at that sort of as like sort of an allegory or a metaphor for every now and then there's a technology, or there's some new thing that drops from the tree of knowledge, and we have this, and now we have the responsibility to do something with this, right? Atomic weapons, obviously. Okay. The printing press from, you know, the Gutenberg press back in like 1480 or something like that. That was a technology that increased literacy in Western Europe. And what did it do? It also caused wars between the Protestants and the Catholics back then, because it was now everybody could read the Bible, and they could say, you guys, there's some chicanery going on here with the Catholic Church. And so now we're going to be in, you know, we're going to be the Protestants. Martin Luther knocks the, you know, stuff to the door there. As a result of one technology, the Gutenberg press, movable type. Okay. So fast forward to 1965, that's another apple that falls off the tree of knowledge. And now we have to find some way to deal with this. And not only just the fact that, hey, this is a great new technology, we can fuck and we don't have to worry about getting pregnant, but the internet is just as big a deal as the Gutenberg press. Yeah. And so when I talk about like sort of these new technologies that drop off the tree of knowledge, it's sort of, like I said, it's a metaphor for what's known as evolutionary gap. And it means that technology advances way faster than our evolution and our instincts can process that and see ahead of the game. So for instance, like, well, when did the Wright brothers start flying? 1906 or 1910 or something like that. Yeah. By the 50s, we have jet engines, and we've got Sabre jets, and we've got Phantom jets in the 1970s, in less than 100 and under 100 years, right? Yeah. We did put a man on the moon in the 60s from, you know, but we were flying in 1910, right? Then we have computing. If you look at like the computers of, say, the mid 80s to this right now. Yeah.
Your phone is more powerful.
You have the access to all the world's information on this one device right here. If I was to take this back to the 70s, people would think I was the devil.
Yeah, they would. They'd probably execute you.
Yes, they would.
What is this?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, the smartphone. There's a couple of inventions that come along that literally change humanity.
Social media is one of those too.
Yes.
Pornography. You know, digital pornography is one of those as well.
People don't know that it's one of those yet. That's the issue. People don't know yet that social media is one of these situations, like a birth control, etc.
Right.
They don't know yet. But I promise you, I would argue in 15 years, right? Like when I'm, probably right around your age. And then like my brother, the Gen Zers are adults, or they're starting to become like in their 30s.
Elderly? Oh, yeah. The Gen Zers. Yeah.
When the Gen Zers like get into their 30s.
We're kind of getting there.
The Gen Zers, because they grew up on cell phones. They grew up on iPads, etc. When they become like in their 30s, they're going to be able to look back and say, yeah, this is a fucking problem, because now we've had a few generations that have dealt with social media and lived through it. And I think they're going to be able to effectively look back and say,
the bills are going to come due, because there's going to be long-term consequences, and they're going to realize what those were as a result of what they were doing in their 20s.
People are slowly picking up on it now, but I don't think it's created enough of an impact yet. We need another generation or two to like wake up and be like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the most destructive of them is Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. I love Twitter, but you know, I gotta say, you know, it's social media in general, because, and I think it was another quote I did in the religion book. Zuby said, I'm going to paraphrase Zuby here, but human beings were never evolved to have the kind of communication that we have today. Like, we evolved to be in like hunter-gatherer tribes of 100, 150. And that was like our local sexual marketplace. That was who you knew everybody in your group. You knew who the elders were. You knew who the youngsters were and everything else. And now we have this ability. And I was just bringing this up with Mike Sartain because I'm 56. Mike's 46. Sterling Cooper's 36. There's 10 years difference between all of this. And I think like Kyle's like 26, you know, so that's and I don't have,
that's funny.
I don't even think about age anymore. So like when chicks come up to me and go, oh, it's not appropriate for a 46-year-old to be with a 22-year-old girl. I said, yeah, in the 20th century, in the 21st century, we do things a little bit differently right now because we have this globalized community right now. And if that's the way it works, then that's the way it works for them, right? I just saw these stats. Maybe you saw these stats too. It's like 63% of these are Gen Zers, right? So 18 to 29, 63% of males of 18 to 29 are listed. They identify as being single, not in a relationship, but being single. 37% of women in that same demographic identify as being single. So you're looking at least 67% of those women identify as being in a relationship, but they're not being in the relationship with their peers. They would have to be at least 30 or more. They would have to be outside of that, or else they're all fucking the same guy in the 18 to 29, which that really might be the case.
That's what ends up happening.
So they're either dating older or they're dating the same guys in that same age cohort right there. That is a direct result, once again, of the technology, because now we have the women. Like, when in human history did women have the ability to talk to, like, a 22-year-old to talk to a 46-year-old, like Kylie, which is Mike's girlfriend, 22, he's 46.
Yeah.
Where would that have ever happened?
And
prior
she's from
to
like a part of the country that they would have never met.
Exactly.
Like, it would have never happened. And that comes back to like the whole, you know, the pill was just the beginning of like this whole, like you said, the sexual revolution, but like, what is the sexual revolution exactly? Well, it's a pill. So now you don't have negative consequences for sex. Now that that's taken out the way,
the social downstream effect.
Now we can go ahead and start focusing on like, okay, how are we going to meet? What can you do? How far can you go along the sides? Because there's no negative consequence anymore.